just 6 weeks, Britons across the country will go to the polls. So who better to speak to than a pollster? Matt Goodwin joins us now because, Matt, you have got some brand new polling that I believe you could exclusively share with us.
Yeah, great to be with you. Now, this is brand new polling. It was in the field after Rishi Sunak called the election. The headline story here, Labour 27 points ahead of the Conservatives. Labour on 47% of the national vote. Conservatives down at 20. The Reform Party on 12, Lib Dems on 9, Greens on 8. Look, Tom, this is about twice what Labour need for a majority. This is a worse defeat for the Conservatives since 1997. Now, of course, the polls will change. We know this race will likely narrow as many of those undecided voters start to make their decisions. But this is a really bleak start for Rishi Sunak and his party on day 2 of the campaign.
A bleak start, a huge Labour lead. Immediately, looking at those numbers for the first time, I know that your polls have often had Reform a little bit higher than 12%. Do you think that the news that this has happened so soon, the ambiguity at the time that you conducted the poll about whether Nigel would stand or not, do you think that's hurting Reform?
It's too early to know for sure. Reform will be squeezed. We know that. We saw the Brexit Party be squeezed at the 2019 general election. We also saw UKIP in 2015, of course, do quite well, still polling 12.5% with Nigel Farage campaigning. But even then it was squeezed. And of course, under Paul Nuttall in 2017, again, the UKIP vote was really squeezed quite hard. So my gut instinct is that Reform support will drop a little. The question for Rishi Sunak, obviously, is what by how much? Because at the moment, Reform are attracting somewhere around a third of those 2019 Conservatives. So Sunak has to get that Reform vote down really as much as possible to stand a fighting chance of pulling off any kind of upset.
Now, of course, when it comes to these polls, it's not just the headline figures that matter. It's those sort of supplementary questions that you also asked. And you asked on Best Prime Minister, a very, very crucial question.
Yeah, absolutely. So we know that leadership really matters for voters, right? Who do they want to be Prime Minister? Who do they think will be the best PM? In this particular polling today, we've got Keir Starmer ahead of Rishi Sunak. Starmer on 34%, Rishi Sunak on 19%. But here's the interesting thing, Tom. A much larger number of voters, nearly half the country, 47%, are actually not choosing Keir Starmer or Rishi Sunak. I think what that's tapping into, what that's reflecting, is this very large reservoir of apathy out there in the country, a sense that, you know what, I'm not entirely sure anybody in the political class today is really catching much enthusiasm out there in the country. And I'm not sure they've got the answers for the big problems facing the country. So, yes, Starmer's ahead of Sunak. Again, another big plus for Labour. But out there in the country, and I'm sure many people watching your show this evening will share this sentiment, and they just don't seem to be excited about anybody on frontline British politics right now.
That is a really, really interesting point. The vast, vast plurality there not favouring either candidate, either main candidate to be Prime Minister. I suppose that shows that that could be squeezed in either direction. This 6-week campaign could throw up some real surprises for us.
I think that's exactly right. It's not only in terms of the large number of voters who are currently undecided on Starmer and Sunak. It's also on the issues, Tom. We asked people, look, who do you think would be the best manager of the economy? The number one issue facing the country today, the number one issue for all voters. And again, they put Labour just ahead of the Conservatives. 35% think Labour will be the best party on the economy, 19% say Conservatives. But as you can see, a large number of voters, 46%, are saying they don't know who to back on the economy. Because put yourself in the shoes of the average voter. Council tax bills are going up, mortgages are going up, rent's going up, food's going up. And they're just looking at this political class thinking, well, who is going to be able to solve this? Also true, by the way, Tom, on both the National Health Service, which is a number 2 issue for the country, and immigration, which is a 3rd issue for the country. Same story. Labour just a little bit ahead of the Conservatives, but again, a much larger number of voters overall saying, I don't really know who to back on these issues. So look, I think this is going to be the theme of the election, right? We're going to have a lot of people out there basically fed up with the dire state of the country, basically aware that Britain is sort of in this period of managed decline, looking at Labour and the Conservatives, not being particularly enthusiastic about either of them or their leaders. And I think just searching around, thinking, who does have the answers to these big problems facing Britain? So this could change during the campaign. If one of these guys has an amazing campaign and connects with the country, then obviously there's a lot of churn in the polling. There could be a lot of movement. But right now, the British public are apathetic, they're alienated, and they look pretty angry, Tom.
Absolutely fascinating that we keep saying that Starmer's so far ahead of Rishi Sunak, but actually what your numbers reveal is that very much Mr. Sunak is number 3, Mr. Starmer is number 2, and Mr. Nobody is number 1. Well,
Yeah,
Matt Goodwin, thank you so
absolutely.
much for showing through that exclusive polling with us there.